Hello and welcome to my kitchen. It's Sunday afternoon, it's raining, and I think it would be a good day to have a nice pasta meal with some homemade meat sauce. You know, a long time ago, I always used to buy the canned pasta sauce or pasta sauce in a jar, and I found that it really wasn't what I wanted, and most of it, if you check the ingredients, it has sugar in it, and I don't think sugar has any place in pasta sauce personally. So what we're going to do first is start off by prepping our vegetables, because that's one of the key parts of a good pasta sauce. And mine is a non-traditional pasta sauce. I like to use onion, carrot, celery, some bell pepper, and a lot of garlic. So what I'm going to do first is chop these up and kind of show you a little bit of technique on how to get these vegetables prepped properly so they'll cook nicely in your sauce. So let's get started with that. The onion is one of those things that people often have difficulty chopping up, and perhaps you've seen this technique before, but if not, I can show it to you. Chop the end off, turn it over, cut it in half, do this stuff, put that down. You're going to peel this outer membrane off. There's always this little thin membrane. You don't want that in there. And so what we're going to do is turn the onion on its side like this, and you're going to cut in like this. And make little strips, kind of like you're making layers in the onion. Be careful of your fingers. And then once you've done that, then you come down like this. Try to, have the spacing pretty evenly. It's not crucial, but you want to try and get it as close as you can. Now what we're doing now is we're creating dice. So now we just go ahead and slice it. And we have diced onions. So we got our half onion chopped up nice over here. Half an onion is usually about right. We got a bunch of garlic, and the easiest way to peel garlic is to get your clove here and put it down, back of a knife, give it a little thump, and the paper will peel off fairly easily after that. You can also get one of those garlic roller things if you're into gadgets. I like to keep as few things as possible in my kitchen. And cut off that green bit there. And then we're just going to kind of do the same thing that we did with the onion. I just go sideways like this, and then just kind of go down the side like this. And then chop up our garlic. Carrot may seem like a strange ingredient to put in pasta sauce, but really it's not that uncommon. They use it in sauce bolognese. And one of the reasons for that is that it imparts a little bit of sweetness to the sauce and gets rid of some of that acidity that is common in tomato sauce, particularly canned tomato sauce, which is what most of us will use. So I start off with a carrot and I cut it in half. And one of the ways to make it easier to handle is just kind of square it off a little bit like this, right? And then you can kind of cut it into planks like this. That's not a good one, but here we go is a better one. Kind of cut it into planks like that and try to make it as even as you can. Then you just go ahead and cut that into little ribbons like this. Again, we're not trying to win any cooking championships, so how perfect these slices are, these cubes are, really isn't that important. We're just trying to make sure that we get them as even as we can. The next thing we're going to do is the celery. Cut the ends off, just like that. We're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to just try to make them the same distance or the same width so we can cube them up. Do that. Come in here and just cut these into strips. Like this. And chop those up as well. Again, trying to be even. I just use one stick of celery for this part. Okay, so our bell pepper is the final vegetable that we're going to chop up here. And most of them are sort of square shaped. This one isn't, but you get the idea. You cut the sides off, just like that. And you can see where the vein is. You're just going to cut like right through that. And in the process of doing this, you're kind of eliminating having to deal with that vein, see? Like that. If you want, and you want to use it all up, you can cut this part off and cut this part off, but I just don't deal with that. And then you just come in here, and whatever is left of the vein, just trim that out. Like that. And then we're just going to cut this into strips, just like this. Again, just like the other vegetables, trying to keep them as even as we can. And once we've done that, then you're going to go ahead and turn them over, line them up like this, and just give them a chop. Again, the idea is just to get them as even as you can. Not brain surgery. And just so they cook fairly evenly. And there we go. Now we're going to do the rest of these, and our bell pepper will be done. So now we've got all of our ingredients ready. We've got our diced onion, diced bell pepper. This is about a half a bell pepper, a large one, or about 3/4 of a smaller one. I just try to get the bell pepper ratio similar to the onion. It's not a specific science. 6 cloves of garlic, 1 diced up stick of celery, 1 diced up stick of carrot or large carrot. This is fresh rosemary. You can use dried rosemary if you can't get hold of fresh. This is also a fresh bay leaf. Also, you can get dried bay leaves, they're perfectly fine. And some dried oregano. This is about a teaspoon. And that's what we're going to start the basis of our sauce with. You want to start off with a nice, large, heavy bottom pot. This is an All-Clad, which is fairly expensive. So I don't expect you to get anything like that, but any large pot will do, even a cast iron pot. And what we're going to do is put a lot of olive oil in here. Probably a lot more than you would expect. We kind of want it to coat the entire bottom of the pot. And as you can see, I'm not measuring. I'm just going until it's covered the entire bottom of the pot like that. And it seems like a lot, and it's really going to be oily, but it's not. What it's going to do is kind of emulsify in the sauce and make a nice, rich, thick, meaty sauce, and you won't even notice the oil in there, I promise you. And besides that, it's extra virgin olive oil, it's low in saturated fat, and it tastes delicious. So don't be too concerned about that. We're going to offset the fact by the fact that we have all this oil in there by using lean ground beef, and so it really works itself out. So we've got that on medium heat, and once that gets going, we're going to start adding our garlic and our other ingredients. I'm going to go ahead with our chopped garlic first, and as you can see, that's just starting to sizzle a little bit. And we want to swirl this around and get all that garlic in there incorporated. Because what the garlic is going to do is going to flavor that oil, so that flavor of the garlic gets all the way through the sauce. We're going to let that go for a few minutes, and then we'll start adding the other ingredients. Now that that's going, we can go ahead and add our chopped onion. What you want to make sure is that all the vegetables are soft when you're done. And so you can go ahead and put your bell pepper in there too. And your celery. And your carrot. I don't think I'm going to use all this carrot. I think that might be a little bit too much. Use your own judgment. What I look for is ratio, right? So we've got more onion and bell pepper than we do carrot and celery, and that's what we want. And we're going to let that cook for a while on low temperature, just on this medium, and just sort of let it all simmer together until the vegetables are getting soft, and then we can start on the next phase. Okay, by now it's been about 20 minutes to a half hour on medium heat, and hopefully you can see how the vegetables have cooked down. They're not as bright in color, which kind of indicates that they've cooked, and they're getting soft. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to add our meat. So we're continuing to break this up and stir it in with the vegetables. And here you can see why we want to use the leanest ground beef that we can get, because we've already got a lot of oil in here. And you'll see how that works out later, I promise. It still looks like a lot of oil in here, but believe me, once it starts to incorporate, you'll see the whole mission for it. And we're just going to stir this around until it's, almost cooked through. It doesn't have to be completely cooked through. What we want to do is just keep chopping it up. We want to try and make those pieces of meat, those clumps of ground beef, relatively fine. So we don't have any big, giant pieces, unless that's what you like. Maybe you like chunky pieces of meat in your pasta sauce, and if you do, then it's cool. Do whatever you like. Okay, one of the things I found is super important for your pasta sauce is the tomato sauce that you use. There's a lot of mass-produced ones out there, Hunt's, etc. I find that they're really acidy and they taste a little metallic, and you just can't quite get that acidy flavor out of the pasta sauce when you're done, which is why the cheaper pasta sauces use sugar to counteract that. These are American-made San Marzano tomatoes, basically. I don't know if you can get these in your store. I don't even know what brand they are, really. They don't even say, but I use the crushed tomatoes, Polpa di Pomodoro. My Italian's not that great. 2 cans of it. You can also get San Marzano tomatoes in your grocery or specialty market. And if you can't, you can use regular tomato sauce, whatever you can get your hands on. It'll be fine. But this really makes a big difference. Now we're giving our meat one final chop before we add the sauce. We want it to be pretty fine. That looks pretty consistent. Okay, and then one thing that's also a nice thing to add is a little bit of crushed red pepper before you put the sauce in. Maybe you don't like your sauce to have any spice to it, and a lot of people don't like that. But that's not really enough to make it spicy, but just to give a little bit of tingle on your tongue. Now we're going to get our sauce and put that in there. And we're going to add the other can. There we go. And again, we're going to scrape that out nice. Make sure everything's out of there. Don't want to waste any of that nice sauce behind. And now what we're going to do is really stir this up and incorporate all that. Right now you can see this oil is in there, right? And you go, man, it's so oily. But as you stir it around, look what happens. It starts to incorporate into the sauce. And as it cooks, it will do so even more. See, it's already starting to get a nice sheen to it. And that oil's starting to incorporate. And believe me, that garlicky oil with the vegetables in there, it just mellows out that acid of the tomato. It makes a nice rich sauce. You can see how nice and thick this is. This is enough pasta for about one person right here, on average. Get it so where it's about the size of a quarter around is probably about right. We're going to put our pasta sauce on top as much as we like, as much as you like. Some people really like a lot of it. I like just enough to sort of coat the top like that and mix it in as I go.